Welcome, welcome, bloody welcome. Thank you for tuning in to this week's show, which is called
Sunday Chat.
Chatter.
Chatter.
Sunday Chatter.
Sunday Chatter.
Chatter Sunday.
Chatter Sunday.
Sunday
Chatter.
Sunday. Whatever.
Of course, chat is also it's an Indian dish, isn't it? It's like you get like you get chat on the streets. It's like street vendor food as well. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think it's lentils.
Are you sure,
Yeah,
Paul?
yeah.
You're not just making it up. You've not got it confused with something else.
Most probably.
Probably.
But I think it's got two A's. Yeah. Chat.
And of course it's French for cat.
Chat.
Le chat.
Mm.
Yeah.
That always confused me. Going back to the thing of dogs being male and cats being female.
What is it, la chien?
No, I always thought that cats were. I thought they were the same thing, and cats were female and dogs were male. All dogs were male and all cats were female for years.
Poor,
For years.
Poor little naive soul.
But about 3 years ago, I understood they weren't. So.
About 3 years ago, really.
A rather a long time. But I did used to think that one was.
Yeah,
they were
all
both
right,
the
you've
same.
said that now. Don't say it again, Paul. God.
So being female, cats being female,
Shush now.
the fact that they're le chat in French was really confusing.
There we are, that's better. So welcome to the bloody show, and it's been a busy morning here in the Richard and Paul household. Hasn't it, Paul? Yes, it has. What have you been doing, Paul? You've been doing things with vegetables in the kitchen, haven't you, this morning? You may open them now. And
What,
talk.
the vegetables?
No, your mouth.
Well, that's the singular, you meant lips.
Open your lips.
Yeah, let's not go back to that though, no.
You've been doing things with vegetables, making things.
Soup.
I tell you, when Paul's cooking in the kitchen, it's like the cook in Alice in Wonderland. Really is, except he's not holding a pig baby.
No, not yet though.
Oh,
Maybe if I just
the poor little pig baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pig and Pepper.
Pig and Pepper.
That's the chapter, isn't it? Pig and Pepper.
Mm. You love that book, don't you?
I love Alice in Wonderland. It's one of my favourite childhood books, and of course, Through the Looking Glass as well, which I think Through the Looking Glass is probably my favourite.
Right.
The second book.
I think it's better written than the first one.
Well, I think it's the concept of Through the Looking Glass, because I was obsessed with mirrors as a child, as many of you know. And
You still are.
I still am.
Goes past the mirror and goes like that.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't?
I go past the mirror and think one day maybe a mirror will take my whole size in.
Oh, Paul, don't be silly. You've lost lots of weight. You're looking very slim. We're both looking slim and attractive.
I'm not sure about that.
No,
But
right.
there we are.
Because it plays out on a chessboard.
Yeah.
You know, and they move across this landscape, which essentially is a massive chessboard laid out in squares. And that concept, it's just sort of so trippy, and I was into that kind of alternative universe type thing as a child.
We watched a modern one, didn't we, with what's her name? That she was in Misery. She was the protagonist in Misery that finds the writer on the road. Oh, Kathy. Oh,
I don't
can't
remember
her
that
name.
film.
But it was a two-parter, and we just caught the second part of it, and it was a real shame because we were really enjoying it.
No.
Yeah.
Don't remember it. Kathy Bates.
But
I don't remember the film. I don't remember that at all.
It was like a sort of mini series. I think it was like in 2 or 3 parts.
I
and
need my
we missed a
Vivibalm.
couple of them. So
My lips are dry.
yeah.
So yeah, it's been a busy morning. God, I can't get the lid off. Oh, there we are.
There we are.
Busy morning. I've been soaking tea towels this morning. It's so silky and soft.
So you've been doing tea towels this morning?
Yeah, I managed to get hold of some sodium percarbonate.
Because he'd run out
from
last
Amazon. And I use it to soak my tea towels, to clean my toilets. So last night when I got in from work, I thought I'm going to do the loos.
And to clean your toilets.
Clean the loos with sodium percarbonate, have a wipe around the bathrooms. So I did that last night, did a bit of vacuuming, and this morning I've been soaking tea towels to get them nice and clean and free of tea stains.
Yeah, because we use our tea towels as sort of wipes as well, don't we?
Well, yeah, sort of. We've got so many and they are constantly changed.
And we use it instead of, paper, those disposable towels.
It's important to clean your tea towels regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do. I put a wash on. Did a wash last night as well. So it's just been busy doing household chores.
Getting stuff done.
And Paul's been cooking up a storm for lunch and will be also cooking a meal for this evening too, with lovely vegetables.
Yeah, so we're going to have vegetable stew with lentil sauce this evening. Because it's easy. I can pop it in the Instant Pot. Thank you again to Courtney and Dave for that, because
Just fantastic.
It's been a revelation to how I cook things, and particularly in these sort of energy cost times and things like that.
Energy cost times.
Yeah, energy cost times.
Cost of living crisis.
Yeah, hashtag. Yeah, can't go on.
Cost of
yeah.
It's gone on.
So that's what we're having this evening. We're having a friend over this evening, aren't we? So yeah.
Yes. So lovely vegetables. Do you remember that game we used to play, Sexy Vegetables? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Do you not remember?
You sure that was me and not somebody else?
No, it was you, Paul.
Was it?
It wasn't a game that we just played
Oh,
together.
right, okay. I
No,
thought it was a sort of like
no.
bedroom thing.
No,
under
it's
the
the
covers
kitchen
or in the
game.
kitchen.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
This
right.
is way before anybody thought an aubergine was sexy. Do you remember?
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you not remember that party in Acton with those firemen?
Oh, I do remember that, yeah. Were we doing sexy vegetables?
Well, I don't think you were, but I was.
What, with the firemen?
With the firemen.
Right.
Yeah.
Were they getting their sexy courgettes out?
No, you don't get anything out.
Oh, right,
No,
okay.
It's no kind of...
I thought I'd be surprised if I missed that.
No,
Yeah.
Sexy Vegetables. This was a game actually that my friend Tracy came up with many, many years ago. And we were at a party in Acton many, many years ago, and of course plenty of wine had been drunk and possibly other things. And there were these firemen. They weren't in uniform. We hadn't called them for a laugh. 999. I can smell smoke. Send firemen.
But this bunch of firemen turned
up. Not in
What is the
uniform.
collective term for firemen?
I don't know. But anyway, we were sat down and we were all rather drunk. This game really only works when you're drunk. But what you do is you all go round and you have to say a vegetable's name in as sexy a way as possible.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And whoever gets the biggest laugh wins.
Right. Yeah, so it's highly intellectual game.
Well, it's quite skilled. And naturally, I'm usually the winner.
Could you play strip sexy vegetables?
No, I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, so you all just have to come up with vegetable like aubergine.
I was bound to say that one. I mean, that is the most sexy, isn't it?
Purple. Let me do it again. Hold on. Purple sprouting broccoli. And it's good if you put an before it.
Yeah.
And a little gasp afterwards. Then
What
you'll
about,
be a winner.
Isn't it like, yeah, you
Go
could
on,
do
Paul, you
fruit,
do
couldn't
one.
you? Banana.
That wasn't very sexy.
Wasn't That's a story of my life, really.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so there's a new game to play.
Oh,
Full of fun and
fantastic.
frolics, but not for children.
Yeah.
That would just be too weird.
I was going to say, yeah, fun
Yeah,
for all the family.
just
though.
adults.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyway.
I don't know what I was doing when you were playing
You were
Sexy
probably talking to
Vegetables.
somebody about work. Probably.
Yeah, most probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's time for Richard and Paul's weather
Mind you,
report.
if on a Sunday, her neighbours, they always used to shower together on a Sunday. Do you remember that? In that flat, her neighbours across the way. Yeah, they always used to shower together on a Sunday.
Oh, disgusting.
There was a shower curtain, but there was quite a lot of movement behind the shower curtain.
Well, that's a way to break your bath, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, God, if we
Yeah.
got in, we'd come through the floor.
We would do. Oh, we've had a bath, haven't we, together once? Haven't we?
Oh, in the mists of time. Yeah.
Not quite sure when.
Probably broke the silicon seal.
That's probably.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh,
Anyway, let's
funny
move on
things.
with the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny things.
Yeah.
Funny things for funny people.
Oh dear.
Anyway, it's time for the weather report.
Oh dear. So it's grey. Yeah.
With sexy vegetables flying through the sky. No. Yeah, it's been
Oh,
a
dear.
wet and windy week.
It has, but
Hasn't it?
Monday and Friday were rather lovely with glorious sunshine.
But breezy.
Breezy, very
and
breezy.
Feeling
Yeah.
cold.
Well,
but
when
not
you're in the
cold.
sun, when you're in the sun, I mean, I went for my walks, actually only on Monday and Friday.
You
because
got
of
caught
wet
in the
weather.
rain on a walk.
Oh, when was that? Thursday. No, I went Thursday as well.
Thursday.
And Thursday, I got absolutely drenched. So,
And you posted that on our Facebook group, Planet Vegetaria. That's a Facebook group by Richard and Paul. Richard and Paul since 2017. That's contractual.
I think that is the wettest I've been outside of a shower for quite a long time, actually. I was literally drenched through to my skin. I was going to say to the bone, but that wouldn't have been literal, would it? But yeah, I was completely drenched.
So wet and windy today, grey, dull. Couple of nice days where the sun shone.
And today we were going to have a work party at the plot, at the site, but we postponed that because it was supposed to be torrential rain this morning. Actually, I'm just looking, there is heavy rain coming down now.
Oh my gosh, yes, there is.
There'd been quite light rain all morning, and I was thinking, it's a 3-hour work party, and I thought, oh well, we could have gone ahead with it, but we're doing it tomorrow anyway, where the weather's supposed to be better. But I think that is the thing at the moment. The weather is changeable, and you when I went out for my walk on Thursday, I went about 1:30 and it said rain at 3. So I went at 1:30. I was halfway through my walk, and the heavens opened, and I got drenched, as I said.
There we go.
So, you can't really, you can look at the weather, but I think you just need to make sure you need to be flexible and not take too much of the weather forecast to heart at the moment.
Well, it depends on the speed at which things are moving, doesn't it,
Yeah,
as well?
yeah.
Because they can't always tell.
No.
So that's
But you'd think the
lovely.
next day they'd be, well, I suppose they have, so yeah.
And it's been a mixed week emotionally. We did have some sad news on Thursday that a friend of ours had died, which was kind of unexpected, sort of, but we won't go into details because it's personal and, but that was, and it just goes to show that, you never know. You never know what's happening in people's lives unless you're near to them. This person lived abroad. There you go. Life.
Yeah, it is life. Yeah.
Sadness, joy. Alexa, please stop. Thank you. Yeah. The circle of life and all of that.
I mean, that's why it really is important to try and make the most of every minute, even if making the most of every minute is sitting down quietly and having time to yourself or sharing it with others. You know, it's I mean, I got up quite early and I went onto social media and I was reading things on Twitter. Next thing, an hour had gone. An hour of my life had gone past, and apart from a couple of things I saw on Twitter, I don't think my life was enriched by what I was sort of doing.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If you are reading if you're sat down reading something and it's educational and you're fulfilled by that reading and that information, then that's great. You know, I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I think it's important not to run social media down, because, you know, it's a good source of information to people if it's correct information and not complete bullshit.
Yeah.
But, you know, I read a lot online.
Yeah.
Articles, and, you know, if it makes me feel good and I feel enriched by it and educated by it, then great.
And of course, there's a lot of papers that are published now, you know, a lot of research papers. One of my ex-colleagues has just published a paper on urban growing with two professors from, I think it's the University of Kent. And that's sort of, you know, going to take me maybe an hour to read, but is not going to be in print. So the only way you can read it is actually, you know, on a tablet or computer screen.
Yeah,
So,
but I also think as well that, you know, sometimes the phone or the tablet can be a great distraction from not thinking about stuff, because I think it can be detrimental to sit and think too much, because very often sitting and thinking isn't about coming up with solutions.
No.
It's mulling over stuff that has happened, that you can't do anything about, that you can't change. And I think that can drive you down.
Absolutely.
And I think these devices that we all have now, most of us have, I mean, you're probably watching on some form of device.
Well, it will be.
Yeah, they are useful tools for distraction therapy, which I think sometimes in life is extremely valuable. It's a bit, we've spoken in the past about TV being a distraction when we've been through bereavement or difficult times. Comedy
Absolutely.
can be a great way of taking your mind off. Even if you're not laughing, you're distracted from thinking about the shit that you're going through at that time.
Yeah.
I downloaded a couple of games last week or the week before, I can't remember. And I used to play computer games quite a lot. And they're great ways of just tuning out from the day, tuning out from stuff that's going around your head. If you've got everything done that you need to get done and you just want to just be distracted but be using your head in some way, then reading, playing a game, you know, doing some scrolling can be a great distraction. In fact, I'll tell you about one of the games that I downloaded the other day. I have been playing over the years a series of games called The Room, and it's kind of like a sort of computer escape room.
They're like lock key mysteries, aren't they?
Yeah, you have to work out these sort of machines and codes and various things to get through to the next stage. And I love it. I love playing that. I was playing it the other night. It's got really atmospheric music and sound effects. It's very immersive. And it's lovely on the tablet. It looks beautiful. So, you know, if you're into that kind of thing, I can really recommend The Room. And I think there's about 4 of them now. And they take quite a while to get through, and you do sort of have to think.
And do you have dead ends and things?
Well, you get to certain points where you just don't know what to do, and you can access hints if you want to. There's a little hint section that gives you a tip on where to go to next without giving too much away. So yeah, I can highly recommend that. I also downloaded Space Invaders as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
What, the old one where
Yeah.
it shoots up from the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love that.
Yeah. So surprisingly difficult.
And Pong, apparently there's Pong championships, world championships and things. You know, that's the one where
I had Pong.
you've got the thing that goes up and down and it bounces the ball from one side of a sort of pitch, really, to the other.
It's ping pong.
Just ping pong, basically.
Yeah, I had that when I was a child.
I mean, it was like the first computer game, really, wasn't it? We
Yeah.
had a thing where we attached we had a controller and we
little
attached
box.
it to the back of the television in one of those
aerial
old
socket.
aerial things,
Yeah.
and that was great, yeah, and the sound of that, I heard it.
Yeah.
I heard it the other day. I'm not sure where. When I went down to Vanessa, I was listening to something on the radio, and I heard the noise, and I thought, that's from Pong. That noise is from Pong. Yeah. Yeah.
It used to drive my parents mad.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
Memories like the corners of my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a long weekend this weekend.
Windmills.
No. Memories like the corners of my mind.
Oh right. Yeah.
Misty watercolour memories.
Yeah.
Of the
Fair
way
enough.
we were.
Yeah.
Paul. Hello. I've got a long weekend this weekend. I've taken Monday off because I want to start a couple of projects in the house. A little bit of decorating needs doing in preparation for when we put the house on the market. Please don't ask when that's happening. It's going to be happening at some time in spring, so we will let you know progress on that. And I also had a lion this morning, didn't I? Which is very unusual. But I did quite a lot when I got in last night.
Yeah.
Before we ate.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, whew.
And also, interestingly, whatever we were watching last night, you watched right the way through. You weren't sleeping at any point, were you?
No,
right at the end you were, yeah.
I was kind of stimulated, and energised to a certain point, but my legs were feeling it because I was up and down those stairs 20 billion times. Yeah, 2 flights of stairs in this house, and you know, when you're doing the cleaning, you have to do both of them. So it's good exercise. I enjoy it. I really do.
I went out for a walk yesterday. I don't know why I'm getting that in my throat, but there we are.
It's because you're not breathing properly.
I went out for a walk yesterday, and I didn't feel like it, but I knew I had to do it, so I did.
Oh, fennel tea.
And then when I got back, I carried on doing various things at my desk, and you were a bit late coming home from work, and I was sitting down here, and I sort of started dozing off, and I so rarely sleep during the day. And I could hear you pottering about doing your washing and things, and I was getting a little bit chilly because even though it was quite warm yesterday, when he came in, he said the house feels quite warm. Have you had the heating on? And I said no, it's just that the sun has,
heated it up a little bit.
And then it got to about 5:30, and that chill started coming in, and I was in that sort of state of between waking and sleeping, and I sort of didn't want to move, but I could feel I was getting chilled, but my legs were so tired.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Lovely.
We talk about you going to sleep. I just thought I'd talk about me
Well, I
going
think
to
it's
sleep.
nice to have a sleep. I've not had an afternoon sleep for ages.
No, you haven't. You usually sleep from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, 10:30, and then I say time for bed, and you wake up and we go to bed. Yeah, that's when you
I
sleep.
wouldn't say usually. It depends. It depends on what's on TV and whether it's keeping my interest.
Yeah,
Really?
Fair enough, yeah. Are you enjoying your fennel tea? I'm quite enjoying fennel tea. I thought I would try fennel tea, and I'm quite enjoying that because
You've said that twice now.
as I was saying, I quite enjoy fennel tea, and Yeah, it's one of the things that doesn't really affect my Barrett's, so that's good. And it means I can cut down on tea.
Even though you chose to have a coffee.
I wanted a coffee this morning.
Well, I want isn't always what's best.
No, it maybe isn't.
Paul.
No. Have you had any chocolates this week at work?
Not chocolate.
Cake.
Not cake.
Biscuits. Maybe you didn't need those.
I didn't have too many.
Fair
there
enough.
were custard creams available.
Oh, that's an absolute favourite.
But you know what? The packet wasn't called custard creams.
Really?
It was called Tasties.
How funny.
I know. I looked at it, I said, Tasties? I said, they're custard creams.
How bizarre. Maybe McVitie's have trademarked it.
They were labelled as Tasties, but the actual biscuits themselves said custard creams. I know, bizarre. So anyway, let's get on with the show. Let's get on with the things that we've written down.
Can you not read now?
Oh yeah. So Paul, you wanted to talk about Food Diversity Day. What is Food Diversity Day? What does it mean? What do people do? Are there events?
Well, it actually happened. I mean, I'm a foodie. I'm into ecology, environment, all of that. And the first I knew about Food Diversity Day was about 7 hours before it began.
When was it?
It was on Friday. Friday was the first Food Diversity Day.
Well, that's the day I ate the custard creams.
Well, there we are.
There we are. I took part.
And there was a host of talks from 9 o'clock in the morning through to 7:30 at night, all on Zoom. I signed up for 3 and I took part in 2. One of them I couldn't because I ended up having to do something else. Or I ended up doing something else actually, not having to, but I did. And it was really interesting. So it had Professor Tim Spector, it had Dan Saladino, it had a whole host of people. It had the guy who launched Riverford, the veg delivery box company. It had just a host of people, and it was really interesting. I started off with the 9 o'clock one, which was basically telling you about food diversity and what would happen through the day. Then I went on to another one, which was all about diversity of seeds and seed growing. I missed the one about lentils, unfortunately, but the good thing is they're not up yet, but each of the talks is going to be available on YouTube. So when they are, we will point to it, and I'll go back to this video and put the link in below, because I know they won't be up by the time this video comes out. But it was really interesting, and one thing that I've never heard of. We hear that we need to eat a variety of foods and fruits and vegetables. And one of the bits of research that I hadn't heard before was when they had done a trial, they found that individuals who ate 30 different types of foods a day, which includes herbs and spices, actually had a better gut biome. Yeah, I was trying to think of the word gut biome. And I started counting what we might eat in a day, and we certainly eat generally more than 30. Like the stew this evening will have most probably about 12 or 13 or 14 different foods in it, making it up. It might just be carrots, swedes, onions, celery, potatoes, and possibly sweet potatoes, but then there's also mixed herbs, there's salts, there's going to be some Marmite in there, a host of different things. And I found that really interesting, and I've been reading up on the gut biome over the last month or 2 months, and I think there's a lot of interesting studies going on there. But what it was also talking about, particularly in the seed segment, and how how the homogeneous nature of food that has come about through corporates really trying to control everything has meant that cultural diversity has fallen as well as social interaction, because effectively you can go anywhere and eat the same things, and when things are very local or very country based, that food culture which feeds into the whole of society is much more endemic and good for a society. And that was a fascinating conversation that was had. I won't go into it in detail, but I will put the links below so that you can listen to what was said in that one and all the others, including the ones I didn't see or didn't hear. It was a webinar. They were all webinars. So that was really good. So Food Diversity Day. So it's going to be on the 13th of January each year from now on. So, yeah.
Very interesting, Paul. Thank you very much. Very valuable. Yeah, I mean, I think it's slowly over the years, it's been recognised, hasn't it, that levels of certain foods should be varied and wider, So, for example, we started off a few years ago with the 5 a day. Now it's recognised that actually 10 a day is probably ideal to go for in terms of fruit and veg.
Which came out of research in Australia.
Yeah, and it was picked up by people all over the world. And of course in Britain, in the NHS, we have the Eat Well plate.
Yeah.
Which, shows you what you should be eating from the various foodstuffs that are available. And it kind of makes sense to me that the more varied a diet you have, the more the body's going to sort of work. I mean, not only in terms of things moving well, but absorption and, all of that.
Yeah.
Because that variety will stimulate the body. Isn't it? It's going to there's certain herbs you can use to stimulate digestion. And,
absolutely.
So there are different foodstuffs that do different things. It makes sense, doesn't it? And I guess that's grown over the years in terms of what is available to us.
Exactly, and what is made available to us.
So in the old medieval times, there would have only been a certain amount of stuff, probably quite varied, but when people were foraging for food and were hunter-gatherers and weren't actually growing food for themselves, it would have been fairly limited depending on the climate.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
I
think another interesting point that came up, and I think this was the guy from Riverford that said this, is that in order to grow, even organically as they grow sort of quite a lot of food, they've limited the number of varieties of vegetables that they grow. And he stated, I don't know the research behind this, but he stated that he believes that in the hybridization of vegetables, a lot of some of the good benefits that you get from traditional open pollinated and non-hybridized vegetables gets lost. So he was talking particularly about brassicas and how the hybridization of brassicas to be less, take the bitterness out of them, particularly leaves and broccoli. Actually, the benefits, the
compounds that are bitter,
are taken out, and they stop the polyphenols and other things giving the benefits to your body. So it's been thought that cruciferous vegetables help against defeating cancer. It helps defeat cancer basically in one way or another. And what he was saying is those cancer-causing benefits that you get from brassicas are limited.
Not cancer-causing benefits.
Cancer-limiting benefits. Yeah. I got that wrong way around.
I don't know. Yeah. Whenever I eat something that's really bitter, I kind of always think this is doing me good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Strong flavours, you always sort of think, they must have a compound that's doing me some benefit. Unless, of course, it's poisonous.
Well, yeah. And, of course, in nature, a lot of things that are bitter, of course, are poisonous.
Yeah. Interesting, Paul. Thank you so much for that. You also went down to see Vanessa this week.
I did,
you? You had a day in Cranley in Surrey at For Earth's Sake. That's the plastic-free shopping experience. And if you don't know about For Earth's Sake, I'll pop a couple of videos here from when they opened a few years ago that you can watch.
It was a really good day. Vanessa, her assistant Liz, and I sat down for maybe 6 hours and did an awful lot of planning and strategizing for the year and beyond. So that was really good because there's a number of different facets to what Vanessa is doing. Some through For Earth's Sake, some through sort of other association or organisations. So it was a really good day.
Good.
Bit wet going down there. It was a very wet day. Going down was fine. Coming back was wet. But good day. Good day.
And talking about wetness, the car, we're managing to sort of mop, aren't we?
Yeah.
We think we know where it's coming in, the water, but it's been too wet to even think about resolving it. A couple of you suggested covering the car. We can, I guess, get round to doing that once everything's dry, because otherwise there's just no point, it's still wet. But we're managing to sort of mop it up, and we've taken a couple of things out that have been soaking up the water. The boot floor cover, namely. We're trying to limit the effects of that at the moment, but we will get onto that as soon as the weather dries up. You also want to re-mention this new platform that you're on, Paul, called Medium, and we put the link in the description. It doesn't cost you anything to follow Paul on this.
No.
So have a look in the description box below when we've finished, and it's Medium, and it's to follow Paul's writing. So we need to get the followers up as high as possible. Your support would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely, and thanks everyone who has signed up already. We went from, I think, 4 to 39 in a matter of a couple of days. So please do. Medium.com/@ Paul Savident. It's down below. So
Lovely. I think, Paul, you're going to do a little video all about that.
I am, yes. I was going to do it this weekend, but I've actually got an article in my head called The Fat Boy Left Standing, which I'm formulating. So it was me, yes.
Paul, I didn't leave you standing.
No, I wasn't particularly overweight when I met you.
Okay. Time for the final segment.
What have we been watching this week?
Said that in a very odd way, Paul. Yes, what have we been watching this week? So
it's been quite eclectic this week, actually. Quite a few different things.
And we've been enjoying a few fires as well.
We have, yes.
Whilst we've been watching television. And one of our followers suggested that we do a fireside chat.
That would be difficult with angles.
I did sort of reply to you, thank you for the suggestion, it was lovely, on Instagram. But it just wouldn't really be possible to do that. We'd have to completely rearrange this whole room to have 2 chairs either side of the fire.
We're not going to do that.
No.
Didn't Jane do a fireside chat with Mike at one point, I think?
I don't know.
I think she did a couple of months ago,
We'd have to both sit on a chair together or sit on the floor.
You could sit on top of me.
So just wouldn't work. I'm not sitting on the floor for anybody. No, I'd never get up again.
As you get older, it does get more difficult.
Television.
Television.
So we watched a lovely documentary, which was a little long, called Never Surrender, and it was all about the film Galaxy Quest, which is one of our favourite films.
Yeah.
If you've never seen Galaxy Quest, I won't tell you anything about it, but if you're a Star Trek fan, you probably have seen it.
And if you're not a Star Trek fan, you should watch it anyway.
Yeah, great cast, namely Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman. Great cast about a great film, about the cast of a sci-fi TV show with a twist.
Yeah.
So yeah, well recommended.
And the documentary was really interesting, as you say, a bit long. But the film apparently wasn't that successful initially. But it's one of those films that
Alexa, please stop. Thank you.
It's one of those films that has built up quite a fan base, and we're sort of, we are both fans of it. It's quite a heartwarming film, and it's really interesting. So, yeah, the documentary is worth watching as well.
What was it on? Was it Netflix or Prime?
Prime, that was on.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
We've also been watching this new programme, which is kind of like a sort of competition. It's called Take a Hike. And it's all about a group of people who each have to organise a hike.
I think they're guides, aren't they, in their area? They're walking guides in their area, I think.
I have no idea. It was okay. They kind of score each other at the end and somebody wins at the end of the week. It's a bit like Come Dine With Me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Except it's kind of walking. Yeah, it was okay. Some of the people were a little bit annoying.
But people are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell me, I work in customer service. I know all about people being annoying.
My dad used to love Come Dine With Me and wouldn't miss it. Well, would try not to miss it. He didn't have to watch it, but yeah.
We finished Miriam Margolyes' Australia Unmasked.
Yeah, and
which was a good show. I think it's a good series. We both like Miriam Margolyes. Some people don't. I think it was really brave of her to have done what she did at her age. I mean, she's 81.
Yeah.
And driving around Australia in a big van
for 7 weeks
that she was driving herself. Yeah, I mean, incredible, really.
I mean, obviously, there's the support of the camera crew and van and things, but. Knowing Miriam, she will have driven that van. It's not going to have been made up, And it was a really interesting series. The third part was particularly sort of quite emotional when she was talking to those adults, the two adults that were learning to write,
to read and write.
And write at an advanced age, sort of like maybe in their 40s or 50s. That was very interesting.
It was certainly worth a watch. We also watched an episode of Dragon's Den as well the other day, didn't we? Because it was on. Yeah, it's okay. It's, I don't know, it's not as good as it used to be. It feels lighter than it used to be in terms of the number of people that go into the den. I don't seem to see as many in one episode. I feel like they've stretched it out. Because they used to have shorter ones where people weren't successful.
They did, yeah.
And there were usually a couple of those.
Yeah.
And then sort of 3 longer ones. So, again, annoying things that TV producers decide to do. And we've said this before, not just about Dragon's Den, but one of the most annoying things that producers do, is have those stupid summary of the programme before it's even bloody started.
Yeah.
We counted 4 minutes at the start of a programme where it virtually shows the whole bloody thing.
So it was this is what this series is about. This is what the last episode was about. Then you have the intro for the actual programme, with the titles and things, and then the programme started, and it was 4 minutes.
Actually,
I I don't need that.
On one of them, I felt quite satisfied after that, so switched off.
It's a bit like those films that have really long trailers, 3 minutes, and you think, well, the film's only going to be less than 90 minutes, and you've given me 3 minutes, and I know what happens already. Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah.
It's just making good trailers is an art form in itself.
It should
really
be a
is.
teaser. But the TV programs should not have those things on them. That's it. It's kind of like insulting the audience, I find. But again, I'm not a fan of TV producers, to be honest. I think
we've known a lot of them.
They just seem to have these ideas, and a lot of them sort of railroad those ideas.
And then they have yes people around them as well. So that's a
great
idea.
Great idea. Yeah, because they're scared of being sacked.
Yeah. But the other thing that in this particular episode of Dragon's Den, there was an element that should have been edited out right at the beginning. And when these people enter Dragon's Den, they come through this old warehouse, this really old warehouse that's obviously been tidied up, but it's all decrepit and old. And they get into this old lift, and they go down, and they do their pitch, and they come back down the lift and go. As this couple, the first couple, were entering, he sort of knocked on wood, didn't he? He knocked the windowsill, the brick windowsill, that they pass as they go in for good luck. And you heard the knock.
It was hollow.
That
wasn't brick.
So suddenly, you're taken out of this program
illusion.
Being a reality program to this program really being an entertainment program where the whole set has been built around it. They're not,
So we continued with Maud. We watched another 1 or 2.
We watched another 3 because they're on YouTube in 3s, and we watched another 3.
Yeah. Again, very enjoyable. I mean, the character of Maud, she's very intense.
Yeah. There's a lot of shouting.
There is a lot of shouting.
But the subjects that they touch on,
they're really near to the bone,
for the what was it, early 70s, I think. Racism, sexism, violence, abortion, nudity. I mean, all of that has happened, and we've got to like 7 episodes.
Yeah, so very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
We restarted watching Rosemary and Thyme.
And Social Standing. Standing as well, particularly. Yeah.
We restarted watching Rosemary and Thyme from the beginning, which we know many of you enjoy. It's just so gentle, kind of nice to watch over dinner, even though there's usually murders.
Yes, they're quite gentle murders though.
They're gentle murders. Yeah, it's fine. So that was good. You watched an episode of Silent Witness, Paul.
I watched the 2 episodes of Silent Witness. That was this week and also last week. I find the stories quite interesting. I find the acting just particularly of the 2 leads.
It's wooden.
It's so unemotional. I mean, maybe you need to be emotional to be unemotional to be in that role. I don't mean that role of casting. I mean, a pathologist. But yeah, it always seems very flat. But the stories are always interesting.
Oh, good.
But yeah. I don't know. It's like 25th season.
All right now. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you read this week, Paul, And Then There Were None.
Yeah,
by Agatha Christie.
I read a number of different books 2 different books this week, but one of them was And Then There Were None. And it was really interesting. I'm going to watch the old black and white film, which I know is on YouTube, so you can watch it free of charge on YouTube. Because I know the ending. I believe the ending of that film, as the ending of many of the And Then There Were None adaptations, is different to the book. And I had forgotten, because I haven't read And Then There Were None for over 40 years. I think I must have read it when I was about 11 or 12. That was the last time I read it. And it's very different. And also the style of writing, when it comes to dialogue, is very different to how we read now. There is a lot of he said, new line, and then what that person said in quotation marks, which I found quite awkward in reading. I mean, styles of writing change, obviously, but yeah, I've seen so many adaptations of Then There Were None, which it wasn't originally called that. It was called something else. Then they changed it to something else, and then they changed it to And Then There Were None. And yeah,
I think it's very interesting about styles of writing and styles of writing dialogue, things like that, because it's a very visual thing in a book. And go back to Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Lewis Carroll did that. If you remember The Mouse's Tale, The Mouse's Tale is written in the form of a mouse's tail on the page. So it's very visual, and there are certain authors that do this. Stephen King very often does this with dialogue and drama. You know, dramatic bits are written in a certain way or a very different way on the page. So when you turn the page, it has a visual impact, which I think is a really interesting way of writing. And to be honest, I don't think, other than the rules of what punctuation marks are there for, I don't think there's any rules. I think you can do what the heck you want.
Well,
you know?
I think it's like anything. You know, if you're trying to do something, people try and push you into the homogeneity of it, you know, so that everything is the same. But then when you become successful, you can sort of break out from that, or your difference makes you successful, if you see what I mean.
Well, I just think it's interesting to play with the structure of a paragraph on the page.
Yeah.
You know, to use a variety of different punctuation or gaps.
Yeah.
As well, you know. So yeah, interesting. It's an interesting subject, Paul. You could do a video on that.
I could do.
Couldn't you, Paul?
I do notice in my writing, I'm a fan of ... I am.
Yeah, but ... overused.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Very odd.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think there needs to be a variety of punctuation to make things look interesting. You know, it's like when you're faced with opening a book and seeing everything is in tiny print.
Oh, I can't bear it.
You know, for me, it's like, oh God, this is going to be a slog, you know. But to see, say, a Stephen King novel where there's lots of interesting work done on chapters as well and parts, you know. And sometimes you'll have a really short chapter, which is a couple of paragraphs, because it's there for a reason. I think that's a really interesting way of doing things.
I think this is, you mentioned that, I think that's really interesting because that's exactly what And Then There Were None is. Because it's telling the story of 10 people who go to an island. They're invited to an island, and the way that she breaks up those characters initially, you hear their stories, and it's very much in that, you know, this is the chapter, but the chapter is broken up individually as well and numbered differently. And I'm reading Stephen King's Mr. Mercedes. I just started that and read the first chapter, assume it's chapter 1, and I've read like the first chapter, which is 6 pages, and then there's number 2 and it continues.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure whether that's number 2, chapter 2, or that's number 2 of that chapter.
Well, the book Salem's Lot as well.
I love Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot.
That is divided into chapters according to character. So it'll be Susan 1, Ben 1, you know, and it's divided in a certain way because it's telling different people's stories. And then, of course, things converge, people come together, and, you know. So, yeah, I just think it's a really interesting subject. Interesting, Paul. You don't need to go on about it.
Well, no, but it's also interesting because it shows you an event very often from different perspectives. So you can see what one character saw and thought in a moment, and then you get what another character that was standing further away or in a slightly different situation saw in that moment. And I love that intertwining of character.
Good. So that's it for this week's Sunday Chat.
Sunday Chat!
A little longer than we intended,
said the bishop to the actress.
We do hope you've enjoyed the show, and if you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. What was that noise? Or was you? Footsteps on creaky floorboards. Thank you, bloody thank you. Take care. Tout le au revoir.
Bananas.
Bananas. Bananas. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.